Welcome back to Man in Your Corner with me, Shaun Tucker, health scientist and breathing performance trainer. We are here in the living lab documenting the science, the struggle, and the shift for every man who is ready to take their life to their next level by first taking control of their state. The best thing you can teach your kids is how to breathe when it's scary. Because regulation is not taught, it is caught. And if you find today's episode helpful, please go give us a rating on your podcast platform you're listening to or viewing on today. Thank you so much for that. So, the best thing you can teach your kids is how to breathe when it's scary. And maybe think back to a time when maybe you were a kid, or maybe you were in adolescence, or even in adulthood, when things got really scary. When you actually scared yourself shitless, all right? Think back to that moment. Imagine if you had a tool that you could use to overcome that fear, to face that fear, to really look at it for what it is rather than what you think it is. Learning how to breathe in that state where you are terrified is one of the most important locuses of control you have in those moments. And we have to remember, as kids, they're not taught this. You cannot teach them this. You have to do it yourself and show them through your own ability to regulate yourself. This is also known as co-regulation. And you can test it. You can test it when your kids are throwing a tantrum. You can test it when life gets a little bit uneasy in your own life and your kids are watching you. Use your breath to take control of your state, especially your emotional state, and then watch what happens. When you go from being in a frightened state where things get really shook up and really scary, maybe you are facing a saber-toothed tiger, I don't know. What we can imagine, we can create. Maybe in your reality, that's what you've created. Maybe it's a metaphor for, look, life's pretty challenging for you. I get it. The sooner you can take back control of learning how to breathe, and I mean, even just something as simple as controlling the rhythm, the inhale to the exhale, the Tucker breath, a 1-to-2 ratio breath. Inhale for 2, exhale for 4. If you inhale for 10, you exhale for 20. It's as simple as that. This is not even looking at the breathing apparatus itself, like the breathing muscles, and what happens when you inhale and what happens when you exhale. This is merely just taking control of the rhythm of your breath. I promise when you do that, it will help you settle into a more rest and digest, parasympathetic or perceptive state. Because what happens when you do get frightened, when you get scared, and I'm saying this to you, but imagine being a kid, imagine being your kid facing something that's really, really scary. I don't know, maybe they have to face you. Maybe they messed up. I remember being terrified when I think one short story is I was playing with a piece of tin and I was throwing it and I threw it and it literally cut my hand. And I was terrified to tell my mum and dad. I was probably more terrified to tell my mum. But I was actually also scared of telling my dad. Because if they found out, they knew I'd be silly, right? And I guess the whole point of this is if your kids don't feel safe to tell you, they're probably going to try and avoid it. And then when they do tell you, it's actually going to be, obviously they will get over it, yes. But what's important is you regulate yourself through that experience of maybe yourself finding out. Because the stronger the reaction, the less inclined they will be to tell you something when it's more important or when it's more scary or life-threatening. This is just how it is. We become conditioned as people, as children first, and then as adults, what we feel safe to tell. And I'm all about telling the truth and hopefully not holding anything against whoever is telling the truth. Having a space of no judgment is really important, because if there is no judgment in that space, they feel safer to tell the truth and tell what's really going on. This is such an important skill to pass on to your kids. It's how to breathe. How to breathe so that they can actually face what's really going on. Maybe it is a scary person, teacher, parent. Or maybe it's something like a bully, right? Because if your kid's getting bullied at some point in their life and they go into this survival frightened state and they freeze or they run away, well, it makes them easier to target next time. Whereas if you give them the tool to know how to breathe and change their state, they can be more perceptive, and then they can actually play the game differently. Maybe they don't retaliate and punch the bully back, but maybe they use their words in such a way that the bully then realizes that your kid is not someone to mess with. Because it can be about strategy, and you can actually just use your words to disarm someone. If it does come around to it, and if they can handle themselves physically as well, I'd encourage them to learn something as well. Some form of martial art or combat sport discipline would be awesome to learn. So yeah. Regulation is not taught, it is caught. First regulate yourself and you'll find that people around you, at an unconscious level, they won't even know that it's even happening. They will start to pick it up and learn it from you. The more at ease you are, the more at ease they will be. That's as simple as it is. So that brings us to the end of this episode of Man in Your Corner. If you have found value, please go ahead and give us a rating on the podcast platform you are either viewing on or listening to right now. If, as well, you have something in your body and you're not sure why it keeps coming back up, there's a pain, there's a symptom, there's a signal in the body, and you've tried everything, but nothing's sort of helping you get to the resolve of it, then please message me, because in 30 minutes, I can help you uncover what's really going on there. Remember that most people wait for their life to change. We are the ones who are making conscious choices to become better men in our lives. Change your state. Choose how you show up. I am Shaun Tucker. I will see you in the next one.